In this video, we will show how to strip OPGW stainless steel tube manufactured by InCap. Cable preparation should be done by properly trained and certified personnel using dedicated tools. Mechanical impact during preparation should not exceed the maximum acceptable values for this cable type. You may get detailed instructions on our company websites. Prior to cable preparation, read the installation guide for the splice closure, distribution frame, or other device that will be used for cable splicing or termination. OPGW stainless steel tube is highly resistant to corrosion and short-circuit currents. It may contain up to 48 optical fibers. Let's take a look at the cable design. The central part of the cable is a stainless steel tube covered with stranded reinforcement wires. The second layer of reinforcement wires is stranded over the first layer. The layers are stranded in the opposite directions to prevent axial twisting of the cable. The reinforcement wire is made of aluminum-clad steel or aluminum alloy steel. The material is chosen according to the technical requirements of the customer. To prepare OPGW stainless steel tube for splicing or termination, we will need a tape measure to measure the cable length to be stripped, an alcohol-based marker to mark the stripping location, insulating tape for temporary bandage, hacksaw to notch the wires, steel tube cutters, a set of heat shrink tubes, a furcation tube, heat gun, D-gel, a dedicated liquid to remove water-swallowable gel. Alexei, our test engineer, will show how to strip OPGW stainless steel tube. Let's get started. Fix the cable in the clamp. The length of the cable to be stripped should be 78 inches. That will provide the fiber length required for the installation of the splice closure. Measure 78 inches of the cable length and mark the location of the cut on the outer stranded wires. Make a temporary bandage of insulating tape over the mark. Use a hacksaw to notch the outer stranded wires all around the cable. The depth of the notch should be about half of the wire diameter. Then unstrand the wires one by one, starting from the cable end, and carefully break them at the notch. Remove the inner stranded wires in the same manner. Make a temporary bandage of insulating tape. Use a hacksaw to notch the inner stranded wires all around the cable. Unstrand them one by one and break. The optical tubes are usually opened when the cable is already inserted into the splice closure. Put the first heat shrink tube onto the optical tube as far as it will go. Size and manufacture of the heat shrink tube are not important. The only requirement is that the tube should fit tightly after heating. Cut the stainless steel tube with a dedicated tool, leaving some distance from the heat shrink tube. Screw the nut to press the blade to the steel tube. Make a few revolutions around the steel tube. If necessary, screw the nut a bit more and make a few more revolutions. Attention! Do not cut the entire thickness of the steel tube. Carefully move the first heat shrink tube. The heat shrink tube should cover the cut on the steel tube by 1/8 to 1/4 inches, or 3 to 6 millimeters, in the direction of the free cable end. Do not break open the stainless steel tube yet. This heat shrink tube will protect the fibers after the steel tube is broken open. Use the heat gun to heat and shrink the tube. The next step is to slide the furcation tube over the stainless steel tube and the first heat shrink tube to cover the cut. It is okay to apply cornstarch, talcum powder, or baby powder to the stainless steel tube before sliding on the furcation tubing. This will help the furcation tube slide over the stainless steel tube. The furcation tube should be 6 inches or 150 millimeters shorter than the stainless steel tube measured from the free cable end. This will provide the sufficient fiber length required for the splice closure installation. Then slide the larger second heat shrink tube over the furcation tube. The heat shrink tube should cover the end of the furcation tube. The second heat shrink tube should completely cover the first heat shrink tube. Heat and shrink the second heat shrink tube. Carefully open the stainless steel tube by breaking at the notch. After a snap, carefully pull out the stainless steel tube through the furcation tube. Use D-gel to remove the water-soluble gel from the optical fiber. Hydrogen is generated during welding of the steel tube, which may compromise fiber properties. To prevent that, InCab uses special dark brown water-soluble gel in cables with steel tubes, which absorbs hydrogen. Finally, clean the fibers with a fiberglass alcohol wipe. Preparation of OPGW stainless steel tube from InCab is now complete.